Martha Williams' house, standing in the suburbs of Massachusetts, gained even more charm when the season of falling leaves arrived. The 40-year-old home, surrounded by gardens she had lovingly tended with her late husband George, warmly welcomed visitors. Martha had worked as a nurse for 40 years, and had been living alone in this house since her husband passed away 3 years ago. Every morning, it was her routine to greet the day with coffee while bathing in the morning sun streaming through the east window. "Grandma, who's this in the photo?" Emma, who was staying for the weekend, pointed to an old photograph displayed on the living room shelf. Martha sat down beside her granddaughter and smiled gently. Emma was a curious 10-year-old girl who had become Martha's emotional support. "That's a picture of Grandma and Grandpa when we had just gotten married. Don't we look young?" Emma stared at the photo, her large brown eyes sparkling. "You look like Mom." "Yes, your mother took after me," Martha said, stroking her granddaughter's soft hair. "But you look like both your mom and dad. Especially your eye color, that's just like your father's." Martha's daughter Elizabeth worked as a curator at the local art museum. Her intelligent and sensitive nature hadn't changed since childhood, and Martha was proud that she had turned her passion for art into a career. 10 years ago, Liz had married James Harris, who had achieved success as a fund manager at an investment bank in Boston. On the surface, Liz and James' family was perfect. They lived in a beautiful house in an upscale neighborhood and were a couple that attracted envious glances in social circles. And between them was their bright daughter Emma. On weekends, the family visiting museums and parks together embodied the ideal family image. However, recently Martha had begun to notice something was wrong with her daughter. "Emma, shall we bake cookies? You like making them with Grandma, don't you?" Martha suggested as she stood up. "Yes. With chocolate chips." Emma bounced toward the kitchen. While Martha smiled, in her heart she was thinking about her daughter. Liz's voice on the phone last week had been subdued and tired. Although Liz said she was just busy with work, Martha felt there was some other reason. She was clearly thinner than when they met 3 months ago, and the dark circles under her eyes were concerning. "Is Mom not feeling well lately?" Martha momentarily stopped at Emma's question. She thought, what a perceptive child. "Why do you think that?" "I don't know." Emma shrugged her small shoulders. "But Mom often cries when she's alone." Martha's heart began to race. "I see, that worries Grandma a little too. But sometimes adults cry when they're tired." "Dad's been angry all the time lately," Emma added in a small voice. As she put chocolate chips into the bowl, her expression clouded. Martha said nothing, gently stroking Emma's head. Anxiety was spreading in her chest. What was happening in James and Liz's marriage? Martha had complex feelings about James. He was always polite, a successful man. But occasionally, she was concerned about the coldness that seemed to lurk behind his perfection, and how Liz seemed too submissive to his opinions. While they were baking cookies, Martha thought about calling Liz several times. But she ultimately decided against it. Maybe she was overthinking. Perhaps worrying about her daughter's marital problems was just an old mother's needless concern. Still, Emma's words, "Dad's been angry all the time," wouldn't leave her mind. 3 years ago, after losing her husband to a heart attack, Martha had to face her own weakness. With her husband of 40 years gone, she felt as if she had lost her purpose during the first few months. However, after joining a local volunteer group, she found meaning in life again. In particular, her work at a domestic violence victim support center was a place where she could use her experience as a former nurse. Many of the women she met there were suffering within closed homes despite being in socially and economically privileged environments. "Are they done?" Emma's voice brought Martha back to herself. "Yes, they've turned a nice color." As she took the cookies out of the oven, Martha decided. Tomorrow she would call Liz and try to explore the situation through casual conversation. If her daughter was really fine, that would be best. But if there was a problem, Martha wanted to help. She had experience. Through her work, and through life, she had developed an eye for spotting the dark secrets people carry. Emma, let's do something fun together tomorrow too, Martha kissed Emma's cheek. Yes. I love Grandma's house, Emma laughed innocently. However, there seemed to be a small shadow lurking in the depths of her eyes. On a morning when spring sunshine brightly lit the room through lace curtains, Martha was frying pancakes in the kitchen. It was the last day of Emma's spring break. Her daughter and son-in-law were scheduled to pick her up this afternoon. Emma, are you up? Breakfast is ready. When she went upstairs and peeked into the guest room, Emma was already awake, sitting by the window, gazing at the garden. Unlike usual, when she would jump up at the smell of breakfast, her granddaughter seemed lost in thought, causing a pang of worry in Martha's chest. Good morning, Emma. It's almost time to go home. Emma just nodded slightly without turning around. Martha sat down beside her. The spring sunshine warmly enveloped both their shoulders. Emma, did you enjoy these 3 days? Yes, very much, Emma finally looked up. There were tears floating in her large eyes. I love Grandma's house. Martha took her granddaughter's small hand. You can come again next weekend. And during summer vacation, you can stay longer. Grandma. Emma's voice trembled. What if I can't come during summer vacation? Why couldn't you come? Martha asked in a gentle voice. Do your mom and dad have plans? Emma shook her head. I don't know, but... During these 3 days, Emma hadn't shown her usual liveliness, and occasionally had a distant look in her eyes. On the first night, she had a nightmare and cried out, trembling in Martha's arms. When asked several times about the reason, Emma just said, I don't remember. Yesterday evening, when they were planting flowers in the garden together, Emma suddenly said, Grandma, I'm worried about Mom. When Martha tried to ask for more details, Emma closed her mouth saying, I can't say because Dad will be angry, and didn't talk any more about it. Emma, is there something you want to tell me? Martha looked intently into her granddaughter's eyes. You can tell Grandma anything. Emma's lips trembled, and just as she was about to say something, the doorbell rang. Liz and James had come to pick her up earlier than scheduled. Oh, they're already here, Martha stood up. Let's have breakfast before you go. I'll offer breakfast to your mom and dad too. Emma hurriedly stood up and pulled Martha's sleeve. Grandma. What is it, Emma? A look of fear rose in Emma's eyes. In a small voice, but desperately, she said, Grandma. I don't want to go home. Martha knelt down, lowering herself to Emma's eye level. Why? Did something happen? Actually. Just as Emma was about to open her mouth, footsteps coming up the stairs were heard. Liz and James had arrived. Martha, good morning. Is Emma up? James' voice echoed in the hallway. Emma's expression changed in an instant. She suddenly fell silent and moved slightly away from Martha. The door opened, and Liz and James appeared. Good morning, Mom, Liz smiled, but her eyes weren't smiling. She was even thinner than before, and fatigue was visible under her thick makeup. Emma, are you ready? I made pancakes. Let's all eat before you go, Martha suggested, maintaining a calm composure. Sorry, we're in a hurry, James glanced at his watch. I have an important meeting this afternoon. I see. Martha said with disappointment. Then I'll pack Emma's things. Emma silently picked up her backpack placed on the bed. Martha began gathering her clothes and belongings. James looked at Emma and frowned slightly. You don't seem very energetic, Emma. Did something happen at Grandma's house? Nothing, Emma answered in a small voice. Liz looked at Martha. Wasn't she feeling well? She seemed a bit tired. But we played a lot, Martha said, protectively. After packing, the three went downstairs. At the front door, Martha hugged Emma tightly. See you next week. I'm looking forward to it. Emma whispered softly in Martha's ear. Grandma. I'm scared. Just as Martha was about to say something, James called from outside. Hurry up, Emma. Liz placed her hand on her daughter's shoulder, urging her outside. Let's go, say thank you to Grandma. Thank you, Grandma, Emma said in a trembling voice. As she was about to leave the door, she suddenly stopped, ran back to Martha, and pressed something into Martha's hand before quickly going outside. Martha felt a small piece of paper gripped in her hand, though confused. Thank you, Mom, for looking after Emma, Liz gave a quick kiss before hurrying to the car. Martha stood at the door, waving until the car carrying her family disappeared from sight. When she was finally alone, she opened the paper in her hand. It was written in a child's messy handwriting. Dad hits Mom. Mom cries. Scared. Help. Martha's blood drained from her face. With trembling hands, she clutched the paper, staring at the car that had just left. James' perfect smile, Liz's downcast eyes, Emma's fear. All the pieces connected. Closing the front door, Martha sat down at the dining table. In her hand was the desperate message from her granddaughter. In her head, questions and fears arose one after another. And in her heart, a determination to protect her daughter and granddaughter was burning. Martha's hands were trembling, but her mind was trying to maintain calm. Reading the note from Emma over and over, Martha took a deep breath. Dad hits Mom. Mom cries. Scared. Help, the weight of those words pressed down on her shoulders. However, caution was necessary before taking immediate action. If she directly confronted James with suspicion, the situation could worsen. First, she needed to talk to Liz and confirm the situation. That evening, Martha called Liz. After 3 rings, Liz's voice came through. Mom, what is it? I was just thinking about Emma. We had a wonderful time, Martha said, pretending to be calm. Did you all get home safely? Yes, of course, there was tension in Liz's voice. James went back to work. He'll probably be late as usual. I see. Martha continued, choosing her words carefully. Liz, have you not been feeling well lately? Is something worrying you? There was a moment of silence on the other end of the phone. I'm fine, Mom. Just busy with work, Liz answered hastily. I've been short on sleep preparing for a new exhibition. I see. Martha sensed her daughter's lie. Could I come to your house this weekend? I'd like to have lunch with you all after so long. There was another silence. Yes, but since James is going golfing on Saturday, Sunday would be better. Saturday would be good for me. It would be nice to chat leisurely with just you and Emma. After hesitating, Liz agreed. All right, Saturday it is. Come around noon. After hanging up, Martha began taking notes. From her volunteer experience at the Domestic Violence Victim Support Center, she knew the importance of gathering evidence. She put Emma's note in a safe place and recorded Liz's demeanor during today's phone call in her notebook. On Saturday morning, Martha left home early. In her car, she had also prepared a bag with extra clothes and daily necessities, ready to take Liz and Emma away at any time. While holding a slight hope that her suspicions were wrong, she was prepared for the worst. When she arrived at Liz's house, everything appeared normal on the surface. A beautifully maintained garden, clean exterior. When Martha rang the doorbell, Emma came running out. "Grandma." She clung to Martha's waist. "Emma, I'm so glad to see you." Martha hugged her granddaughter tightly. There was a look of relief in Emma's eyes. Liz appeared at the entrance. She was perfectly made up, dressed casually yet elegantly. "Mom, you came early." There wasn't much traffic. Martha smiled as she entered the house. The living room was orderly. The atmosphere in the house when James was absent was clearly different. Emma also seemed more relaxed. "I'll make some tea." Liz headed to the kitchen. Martha casually followed her daughter. "I'll help." In the kitchen, as Liz reached for cups, her long-sleeved shirt sleeve rode up. Martha caught her breath for a moment. On Liz's arm were blue-black bruises clearly in the shape of fingers. "What happened to that?" Martha asked quietly. Liz quickly pulled down her sleeve. "It's nothing. I just bumped into the cabinet." Martha silently took the teapot. In her mind, she was considering her next move. If she missed this moment, Liz might retreat back into her shell. "Emma, could you go check out the playset in the garden?" Martha smiled at her granddaughter. "We'll play there together later." Emma seemed to sense the tension between the two adults, but nodded and went outside. Martha took a deep breath and pulled out Emma's note from her bag. "Liz, look at this." As soon as Liz saw the note, her face changed color. "That's Emma." "I also saw the bruises on your arm." Martha looked directly into her daughter's eyes. "Tell me the truth." Tears welled up in Liz's eyes. She put down her cup with trembling hands and collapsed into a chair. "Mom." Her voice trembled. "Nothing. I'm fine." "Liz," Martha took her daughter's hand. "I am your mother. I want to protect you. I want to protect Emma too. Tell me the truth." Liz covered her face with both hands and began to cry, her shoulders shaking. Martha waited in silence. As a nurse for many years, she knew that sometimes silence was the most effective treatment. Eventually, Liz raised her face. "Everything is falling apart." "Since when?" Martha asked gently. "Since last fall." Liz closed her eyes. "James got promoted, and the pressure increased. At first, it was minor things. Just raising his voice a bit, but it gradually escalated." Martha quietly listened to her daughter's story. James' violent tendencies had worsened along with pressure and drinking problems. At the same time, he had begun an affair with a young colleague, and when Liz confronted him about it, he became violent. "Why did you keep quiet?" Martha asked. "Why didn't you seek help?" "I was ashamed." Liz answered in a small voice. "And I tried to endure for Emma's sake. He might raise his hand to me, but never to Emma." "But Emma knows." Martha pointed to the note. "She sees everything. More than you think." Liz looked up, gazing at Martha with eyes full of sadness. "I'm most worried about Emma, but I don't know what to do." "You are not safe," Martha said firmly. "As things stand, both Emma and you are in danger." "But James has power," Liz said in a trembling voice. "His company connections, social status, no one would believe what I say." "I believe you," Martha said firmly. "And we have evidence." "What evidence?" "Emma's note. Let me take photos of your bruises." Martha stood up. "And I have a friend who is a lawyer specializing in domestic violence cases. I'll contact her right away." Liz closed her eyes and exhaled deeply. It was as if a wall built over years had finally crumbled. "What should I do?" she asked in a small voice. "First, we secure your and Emma's safety," Martha said resolutely. "Then we proceed with legal steps. Let's collect the necessary evidence before James returns." Martha took out her smartphone and photographed the bruises on Liz's arm. Then, she encouraged her to show previous bruises and wounds as well. Liz hesitantly lifted her shirt, showing bruises around her back and ribs. While taking photographs objectively with a nurse's eye, Martha was inwardly shaking with intense anger. "How do we explain this to Emma?" Liz asked anxiously. "The truth," Martha answered simply. "She already knows. And let's tell her that from now on, you both will be safe." While they were talking, Emma had returned from the garden. She was standing near the kitchen door, listening to the adults' conversation. Martha noticed her and gently beckoned. "Emma, come here." Emma approached fearfully. Her eyes were swollen from crying. "Thank you for giving Grandma the note," Martha hugged her granddaughter. "You're a brave girl." "Is Mom angry?" Emma looked at Liz fearfully. Liz shook her head while wiping away tears. "No, Emma. You did the right thing," she hugged her daughter tightly. "I'm sorry, that Mom couldn't be stronger." Emma burst into tears in her mother's arms. And the three of them embraced for a long time. In that moment, Martha renewed her determination. Whatever difficulties lay ahead, she would protect her daughter and granddaughter to the end. "What do we do now?" Liz asked quietly. "First, let's pack what we need," Martha stood up. "Today, both of you are coming to my house. We'll make our next plan there." Documents were spread out on the dining table in Martha's house. It had been 2 days since she had brought Liz and Emma to her home for refuge. Lawyer Carol Johnson was reviewing the evidence photos of abuse and looking over the restraining order application documents. "We have enough evidence here," Carol said, pushing up her glasses. "Let's go to court tomorrow. The protection order should take effect immediately." Liz raised her coffee cup with trembling hands. "James will be furious. He has connections." "Don't worry about that," Carol said in a firm tone. "With this much evidence of DV, his connections won't matter." Martha placed her hand on Liz's shoulder. Her daughter had regained some composure over the past 2 days, but was not yet completely free from fear. Emma was playing in the garden. In the safe environment of Martha's old house, she was beginning to regain her childlike qualities. "Liz, we need to go back to get a few more household items and important documents," Martha said. "Let's go tomorrow morning, since James will be away on a business trip until tomorrow evening." "I'm scared," Liz said in a small voice. "I'll go with you, so it'll be fine," Martha squeezed her daughter's hand. "Besides, we already have our action plan in place." Carol began gathering the documents. "I'll keep the evidence. Let's meet at the courthouse at 1 in the afternoon tomorrow," she said to Liz. "Will you be okay until then?" Liz nodded. "Thank you, Carol. Mom, without you, It's going to be all right now," Martha embraced her daughter. "From now on, I'll protect you both." The next morning, Martha and Liz headed to Liz's house with tension. Emma was arranged to play at a friend's house. The two quickly began gathering necessary items. Liz's clothes, Emma's textbooks and cherished stuffed animals, family photo albums, important documents like birth certificates and insurance papers. "We're almost done," Martha said as she loaded boxes into the car. "Just one more box." At that moment, a car slid into the driveway. It was James. "What are you doing?" He jumped out of the car. Anger was visible on his face. "Liz, where have you been? Why didn't you answer your phone?" Martha stood in front of her daughter. "Liz and Emma were with me." "I wasn't asking you," James said coldly. "Liz, what's going on? Why are you packing?" Liz, though trembling, stood next to her mother. "James, we need to be apart for a while." "What?" James' face contorted with anger. Don't be ridiculous. You're not going anywhere. She is going, Martha said firmly. And she will never be hit again. What are you talking about? James put on a falsely confused expression. Liz, what have you been telling your mother? The truth, Liz said in a small but certain voice. I'm ending it, James. James' expression changed completely. Let's go inside, he grabbed Liz's arm. Let's talk, just the two of us. Let go. Liz struggled. Martha had taken out her smartphone. She quietly pressed the record button and put it in her pocket. She stepped between James and her daughter. Don't touch her, Martha said calmly. We've already collected evidence. Your violence, your affair, everything. James faltered for a moment but quickly returned to an aggressive attitude. No one will believe you. I am a respected person in this town. No one will listen to your fabrications. Really? Martha said, maintaining her composure. Photos of bruises all over Liz's body, medical certificates, Emma's testimony, we have it all. Don't involve Emma. James shouted. You brainwashed her. No, Liz said, seeming to regain some courage. Emma saw everything. She saw you hitting me. She was scared. James raised his hand. Shut up. At that moment, sirens were heard. 2 police cars stopped in front of the house. What is this? James turned around, confused. I called them, Martha said. When I learned you would be returning from your business trip earlier than planned. The officers approached. Is there a problem? These women are taking things from my house. James suddenly switched to a calm demeanor. My wife and mother-in-law. That's not true, Martha said to the officer. We are trying to escape from domestic violence. She took out her smartphone from her pocket. He just threatened his wife. I have a recording. The officer focused on James, who had been seen grabbing Liz's arm. Please step away from your wife. This is a misunderstanding, James said anxiously. We were just discussing a family matter. Then, let us hear your stories separately, the older officer said. Martha's plan was working. She had prepared for this moment. The smartphone recording, contacting the police in case of emergency, and securing evidence. While the police took James away, Liz rested her head on Martha's shoulder. Is it really over? Yes, it's over, Martha embraced her daughter. And it's also a new beginning. While the police were questioning James, Martha and Liz loaded the remaining luggage into the car. A few hours later, Liz obtained a restraining order at the courthouse, and James was prohibited from approaching their home, workplace, and Emma's school. That evening, the 3 were having a quiet dinner at Martha's house. Emma, with a relieved expression she hadn't shown in a long time, was eating macaroni and cheese. Grandma, Emma suddenly said. Will we live here forever? Martha looked at Liz. Liz nodded and smiled slightly. Yes, Emma, Martha said. The 3 of us will live together for a while. From now on, we are family. Emma jumped from her chair and embraced the 2 adults. I love you, she whispered. On Christmas Eve, as snow began to fall, warm light leaked from the windows of Martha's house. A year and a half had passed, and the trees in the garden were covered in snow. In the living room, a large Christmas tree was shining, with children running around it. Emma, are the cookies done yet? Martha called from the kitchen. Almost. Emma's bright voice replied. Megan and Kayla are helping with the decorations. 12-year-old Emma had invited school friends home and they were helping prepare for the Christmas party. There was no longer a shadow of anxiety on her face as before. Liz came down the stairs. She had just returned from work at the art museum. Mom, I'll help, she kissed Martha. It's fine, Liz. You sit and rest, Martha said. But David is coming in about 15 minutes, right? Are you ready? Liz smiled bashfully. Yes, as she looked at her ringless left hand. It still feels strange, trusting someone again. David is a good person, Martha put her arm around her daughter's shoulder. And Emma seems to like him too. David Clark was the director of the education department at the museum where Liz worked. A serious and kind man, he had been dating Liz for the past 6 months. He was patient with Emma and never raised his voice. New family photos adorned the living room wall. Martha, Liz, and Emma, the three of them. They had overcome the divorce trial and built a new life. Liz now also volunteered at a local domestic violence victim support organization. Having regained confidence through therapy, she found a sense of mission in supporting women who had similar experiences. Emma too had healed her emotional wounds through regular sessions with the school counselor. Though initially troubled by nightmares, she had now regained her bright smile. Grandma, look. Emma came to show Martha an assortment of cookies. The star-shaped cookies were decorated with colorful icing. They're beautiful, Martha said gently. You all are really good at this. The doorbell rang, and Emma bounced towards the entrance. It's David. Liz followed her daughter, smiling. Martha remained alone in the kitchen, gazing out the window. The snow continued to fall quietly. She had heard that James received a guilty verdict, and after serving a short sentence, moved to the West Coast. The restraining order against approaching Liz and Emma was still in effect. He had tried to make contact several times, but Liz continued to refuse with a firm attitude. Martha, come here, David's warm voice was heard from the living room. We have an announcement for everyone. Martha entered the living room. David was holding Liz's hand, and they were smiling at each other. Emma was sitting on the edge of her chair, looking excited. What is it? Martha smiled. Mom. Liz said happily. David proposed to me. Tears welled up in Martha's eyes. Congratulations, she embraced them both. I told Emma yesterday, David said. I asked for her permission before proposing to Liz. Emma had a full smile on her face. I'm so happy. David is going to be my dad. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Martha sat in the living room, gazing at the Christmas tree lights. She picked up a small photo frame. It was inscribed with, "To my brave grandma." It was a present from Emma last Christmas. Martha smiled, remembering the small piece of paper Emma had pressed into her hand that day. That one sheet, filled with fear and courage, had changed their lives. In the sound of snow gently hitting the window glass, Martha closed her eyes with a deeply fulfilled feeling. Tomorrow a new Christmas morning would come. And the new chapter of their lives would also continue with hope.